Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome to a brand new camp build. So today we are taking a suggestion I got in the comments recently and building a Moonshiners type camp. And this one's kind of, as I say, it's a suggestion from the comments and a bit of a throwback to Red Dead with some of the Lemoyne Raiders kind of vibes in there as well, but in a Fallout sort of a way. So yeah, pretty chuffed with this one. So speaking of other games alongside this, I should say that if you haven't checked them out, we've also been playing some other survival games, some games with base building in as well, on top of Fallout recently, specifically Enshrouded, and we're just getting into Nightingale as well. So if you want to check out some other base building and that sort of thing outside of just Fallout, I'll make sure I link up in the top right corner so you can have a look at some of that content as well. So, on that joyous note, let's dive in and have a look at where we are on the map. Okay, so pretty much top end of the forest. There is my Moonshiners camp, right next to Eastern Regional Penitentiary. And I've got a few fairly significant locations are in the area, Grafton just over there. This whole kind of ridge line where the penitentiary is, actually got a few good spots on it, but not a lot of people build here, so yeah, worth having a little wander along if you're wanting somewhere a little bit different to build. Same sort of on the backside of it as well in the Toxic Valley if you want to break out of the conventional spots. It's not quite as flat as it might be, but it's pretty flat, this spot. It's reasonable. In this case, we want to put some stuff direct on the ground to give it this kind of improvised Moonshiners camp, temporary camp vibe, although the fortifications are going to kind of take the edge off that. So plan here is to create a sort of right-angled structure. I'm going to use a floating roof, but I want the furniture inside to be on the ground, so I'm trying to find the flattest bit of ground to build over here. And I think we've got that there. So we're going to drop down these foundations a little bit so that when I create my floating roof and support it with posts, those posts should reach the ground. Should about do it there. So, next up, floating roof. So we're going to chuck a wall in here. Any wall will do. That's what I'm going for because I'm going to use it a whole bunch in this particular build. And we're going to stick a roof on the top. I'm going for the corrugated metal ones from the Abandoned Mine set as they're kind of rustic looking and improvised looking. I'm going to put two flat roofs out, and this one is going to be the corner piece, so sort of the back corner. The roof will go out to the right and towards the front towards us when I'm done. So we'll need to reposition that to make sure it's the right way around. This one on the left is preventing it snapping the way around I want, so we'll just flip that one. Now we put this flat one in. There we go. And we check it. It should be the right way around. There we go. That's what I want. So now we need to disconnect it from the wall by adjusting this one to be an angled piece. So there's no connection between that and the wall now. We can just remove them both and have a floating roof. Swap this back to a corner piece and we can snap on nice and easily. There we go. And we have our floating roof. Now we need some support for it. So we'll get rid of this wall. Get some stairs out, and we'll drop some posts underneath the corners. So to make sure it lines up to the corners, we're going to grab some upper floors, snap those on, make sure the middle of this upper floor is aligned with the corner. Now we can just grab the post from the bottom of the stair tab, and that should just snap straight to the floor above in line with the corner. Or it would if I'd put it in the right place, which I didn't, but I'll fix that one in a minute. And we've got 4 or 5 of these to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 of these to do. So I'm just going to move these over and do this next one over here, making sure that the floor pieces are facing the same way so that the posts will all be facing the same way. Not that it matters, but I'm obsessive. And there we have it. Jumping on a little bit. We've got that one there that doesn't quite reach the floor. So we'll tuck a small post underneath. And I'm going to do the same here, although I do need to move this post. It's worth noting that if you're putting these tiny posts in at the bottom, you won't be able to take them back out again without some seriously hefty effort, including, I should say, moving your camp unit and starting over from scratch. So bear that in mind when you do that. Be careful to get it in the right place. So, with these posts in, we're going to grab some junk walls of varying types, which we'll be using heavily in this build, and basically just put them up against the edge here as kind of improvised walls to complete the structure out. Decided not to go for that particular wall there just because the extra texture on it, extra depth, just means it's not very smooth for putting furniture in the inside of this place. I do quite like it, but not for an internal surface. I'll stick that one over there. We'll carry this theme on around. We've got a few little gaps to plug up here, so I'm just going to use some chain link for that. It's really quite helpful for that. It's forgiving. The collision box is tiny and will often clip into things, so you can get things placed really nice and closely together and make it look like everything is suitably attached. So very, very handy that for closing gaps. As this goes live, I think that chain link might actually be on the Atomic Shop again, if you haven't picked it up, by the way. So have a gander. I think the Haunted House bundle it's in is actually back on there at the moment, as of time of recording. So we're going to grab these encampment fences and do a trick that I do quite like with these, which is to double height them, stack them one on top of the other. If you turn the snapping off, they're quite happy to do that, and makes them seem a little bit more formidable as a barricade. And for this last gap, I'm just going to mix things up, use the rusted chain link gate, and drop that in, just for a bit of variety. It's the right size as well, which is always a good criteria. And when I remember the controls, because I'm kind of juggling 3 base building systems at once in my head at the moment, we'll lock that so it doesn't get accidentally opened. And there we go. A little bit more decoration on here can be added. I'll sort of make that a bit more solid with some window boards. And move on to the next little structure. So we're going to have a few of them. So this one is a bit of a faff because I decided to get creative with the roof, but it kind of captures that Lemoyne Raiders base from Red Dead vibe quite well, I think. So abandoned mine kit here. I'm going to stick with the abandoned mine roof, and I want 2 angled roofs like this, sloped roofs, facing the same direction. And they don't like placing because they're kind of one on top of the other, and they get a bit finicky about that when you do that. So we'll put these in flat first. And the build order here is absolutely essential, so you may want to watch this a couple of times if you want to do this similarly, or something similar in future, as it's kind of a nightmare. And I want that centerpiece on the top to be facing the right way, so I need to make sure the wall under here is in the right place so that I can have the wall facing the outside. You know, the outside, outside, the inside, inside. And now I need to get that doorway that is currently supporting that half wall off. So to do that, I'll turn it into a door, I'm going to turn on the flamethrower and destroy that half wall on the top. Now I can remove that wall underneath. Very handy trick, that one. Very, very finicky trying to get everything in here. So now we can add some extra walls on the bottom. Which I could have done before, but you know, less to take out if it ended up not working. That door in, there we go. Now we need to get these triangles on. And this is also a build order issue, because, yeah, different roofs are going to interact and get in the way. When it's sticking up like that, I can't put the back one on. Yeah. So we're going to have to come back and actually drop this one back to a flat roof again. Now we can get all of the angled pieces in, except for the ones on the front. We'll get 2 at the back in, that is. Straighten that back to an angled one again. Put this last one in. And there we go. Finally managed to get the structure I wanted in. So a lot of effort for a fairly simple design. Just need to repair this wall in here. There we are. And we're good. And I'm going to dress up the outside of it with a whole load more junk walls just to get a bit more texture and detail. That's one of the reasons I've gone for this odd wall with gaps in it here, because I can use a junk wall once I get it in. Just to cover up that gap, keep the wind out, make the whole thing look really ramshackle, which is what we want. So I'll get that in there, and I'll finish off decorating the outside on my own time, and we'll move on to the next thing. So, just a small one here. I'm just going to put in a little structure to shelter my vendor in just a second. I've done this before, though not in quite a while. I'm going to get that foundation dropped nice and low, clipping into the ground. A little trial and error might be required just to make sure that you can actually get the back wall in, which we're going to do in a minute. I'm getting invaded by Myrlocs here. There we go. Dealt with him. Let's stick this back wall on. Now, sometimes these will clip through the floor, sometimes they won't. It's all about... it's a bit random, to be honest, as I'm sure we're used to by now. But... as long as you've not got too much ground on the top, you usually be okay. This one happened to be fine. In another place, it might not have been. So, trial and error required. But that's what I want. A half wall at the back there. Sloped roof on top. Gone for the copper one from one of the Halloween sets. Not the one that's currently on the shop, incidentally. But it's a fun set, that. It looks pretty cool. So, the roof in particular, I like. So with that in, we're going to need to go back to what we did for the floating roof and get some posts in here so the thing doesn't look like it's going to fall down on us. Staircase, half floor. Now we can use it to snap the posts onto the corner, which will allow us to put railings and other bits and pieces in a bit as well. Get that floor off. Now take everything out. And there we go. So, faffing notwithstanding, let's jump on and make this a little more sensible. Next thing we need to do is get the vendor in, and the roof obviously is too low here, so we're going to have to take that off so I don't shunt this back. Turns out, even the vendor is willing to just slide straight into that bit of earth there, which is quite nice. Quite happy about that. Makes for a kind of crappy scrappy vibe, which is what we're going for this little camp here. So that's in about where I want it. Now I need to just hit that with the flamethrower. Prepare the wall, because I didn't want to destroy that. And I drop the roof back on top. And it should come together quite nicely. Let's get these railings in first, just to be on the safe side. Probably didn't need to, but, you know, it's a bit easier. And there we go. And we can decorate that up a bit more in a bit. So, last couple of bits and pieces on the building side of things. We're going to get a junk wall around the outside of this. You could put some extra structures in here, I suppose, if you wanted, and not have the fortifications to make it feel a bit more temporary. But I do like an enclosed kind of keep the beasties out type of a camp. So we're just going to mix and match on junk fences of varying types and various bits and pieces from a defences tab. Try and make sure things are not floating and they'll clip into the ground a little bit so it looks nice and sensible. The chain link fences are great for that as well, I should add. And as I say, mix and match, just make it look a bit more improvised and ramshackle. There's some of the new plank junk fences that were on the Atomic Shop a couple of weeks ago now. They're kind of a nautical vibe, but they had a whole bunch of different textures and stuff, which is nice. Definitely worth picking those up. Some encampment fences, we'll double these up again. Just trying to make sure everything is not straight, and so it's got that kind of organic vibe, but we'll actually meet up with the back of the structure here. Because I do tend to like using structures as part of the external kind of fortifications if I can. You can go all the way around the outside with the walls if you like, but you have to use more walls, and we only have limited building space, really. So there we go. Double those up again. Drop a half chain link fence in here. And I'm going to improvise something to plug up this last little gap here, because we haven't really got anything that quite fits. Which is to use a couple of these vendor signs. Again, from the Atomic Shop, these pop up from time to time. They are quite handy. Get these just stacked right on top of each other, aside from being good decorations. They make nice little bits of improvised junk wall. So I'm going to stick something on there just to cover up that gap between the two. Just get painting on it, because why not? It's a bit random and weird and scrappy. There we go. And I'm going to stick a guard post just on this front corner as a last kind of structure before we then join the dots with some more junk fences, which I'll do on my own time, because you've got the general idea by now, I should think. That looks about where I want it. I've got a decent view down what appears to be a kind of slope and a gap in the ground there that runs towards Grafton. So looks like that's effectively kind of implying the front entrance. And we need some stairs up here. There is a ramp that comes with these pit scaffolds, which I'm using for this guard post. Unfortunately, it won't sink low enough into the ground to actually work in this particular case. You need a bit more clearance than I want. So we're going to improvise. We're going to place a foundation right next to this, get it lined up. Get that out of the way again now. Snap a second foundation on here. This will allow me to stick the concrete stairs, because they're the only ones narrow enough really, onto foundation, whip the foundations off, and float them. Now we can move this pit scaffold corner back in here and dress it up to finish the job with. If you want to make those stairs float, by the way, simple trick to do it. You just need two foundations connected to each other, put the stairs where you want them, take the foundation off that the stairs are connected to first, and then you'll be able to remove the second one as well. But there we go. I'm going to head off, finish the walls and decorate, and I'll see you in the tour in just a sec. And here we go, the finished product. I spent quite a long time adding little bits of detail to this. I quite like how it looks. It blends into the environment quite nicely. From a distance you probably wouldn't spot it. The lights at night might be a bit iffy. But from a distance it kind of blends into the earthy tones and the woodland tones stuff off their location, so quite happy with that. Looks really scrappy, ramshackle and improvised, which is the vibe I was going for. Put a few extra trees around just to bring the forest in and make it look like it's been here for a bit. A couple of necessary bits on the outside there, make sure I'm stocked with food. Added a couple of extra fences around this side just to, connect everything together. I was tempted to have no front gate on this, give it a bit more of an open vibe, but in the end I just like to keep creatures out. It turned out it was a good thing because I got attacked by an angler recently, so keeping that outside the base was probably a good thing. And a little Vault Boy standee there to point you towards the front gate, because you tend to fast travel in on that side if you do so. I quite like using that stone post there just to kind of close that tiny little gap. As to how somebody might have dragged it back and built it with just improvised tools, I don't really know, but let's not overthink it. We'll head on inside. So this tree here is actually more there because there's a big set of bushes right in the middle that keep coming back, and the tree keeps them bulldozed, so quite happy about that. There's a little guard post with a few extra details. Unfortunately, we don't have any railings that will snap onto the side of these particular pieces, so if you're using a corner piece there and want to close the end, you have to improvise a little bit. A concrete barricade works quite nicely there. Squeeze the toilet in the corner. The other bits and pieces there just to add a bit of extra dimensionality and texture to the outside, make everything a bit less flat. And here is our lean-to moonshining shed. Somewhere to let the fumes get out, but also to keep the rain off most of the equipment, anyway, while you're brewing up a storm. So I really did want to lean into the brewing side of things here, so ostensibly this is kind of the crafting space, but I've only got brewing stuff out here, and chemistry station as well. So I've got my shelter tucked in the corner there in case I want to do any more conventional crafting, weapons and armor and stuff like that. And drop down into the shelter to do that, which I probably will have to do. And tried to keep a somewhat brewing theme sort of style to the decorations in here. Obviously, there's only so much stuff available, so shedding a lot of random trash to it makes the whole thing look fairly improvised, which works quite nicely. Makes it look slightly more established. Definitely happy with the result. I've never really used this Red Rocket beer brewing station before. I've had it for ages, but it's a particular style, shall we say, and I don't feel it blends in with a lot of my builds, but in this instance, it goes quite well in this one, so there it is. A Nuka-Cola cooler as a fridge. A little campfire and cooking spit out front now, because if somebody's going to hang out here, they're going to need to eat something, so gives them somewhere to cook, and a little table and bench set up in the corner to sit and eat at when they have done so. A few crops around, just adding a little bit more interest, a little bit more colour and texture, but also they kind of blend into having something to brew with. Kind of in a Fallout sense in this case, because it leans into the recipes that I have available for brewing varying spirits and liquors and beers and things. A few extra bits of detail around my little vendor station here. Quite like this. Should probably put a stash box there for people to use, but it's fine. I need to update that. Got a big log just sat out in the middle here, and I could have used the bulldozing feature to get rid of that, put something in that gap, but I kind of like the idea that they've not cleared everything out, and there's a bit of crap lying around. The bit in the middle I didn't want there because it kind of got in the way, but this one's a bit off to the side, so it just makes the whole thing look a little bit more laissez-faire in its building attitude, shall we say. A little bit more just work around things. So here is our really awkward sleeping shack. Came together okay, got a few bits and pieces of decoration around. Used the merge glitch to get those stash boxes and stuff underneath the table, just to make it look a bit more permanent. And because it's supposed to be ramshackle and improvised, sleeping bags on mattresses is as good as you get. Cobweb, a few bits of decoration. I really wanted to keep it kind of Spartan and improvised, and I didn't want to double up too much, so that's why I kept things a little light touch in here. I have noticed that when I log out and log back in later, there's a surprising number of things that seem like they weren't floating in the first place that are when you come back, or a little further off the wall. Maybe just a couple of mil, but enough to notice here and there, if you know what you're looking for. And yeah, not too happy about that. I don't know if it's gotten worse recently or I'm just noticing it more often, but it's mildly annoying. Either way, all in all, I'm quite happy with how this place came out. Kind of got a Fallout spin on that Red Dead Moonshiner's shack thing in the swamp, although not in the swamp in this case. And yeah, I do quite like. So I hope you folks enjoyed that one. If you did, please do consider dropping subs and likes. I very much appreciate. Down below, as always, social media links, merch store, channel memberships, all that good stuff if you want to support the channel in that way. Do check out the Enshrouded and Nightingale content and all the other bits and pieces around the channel as well. There's some really fun stuff happening over there, so different tone of base building if you're interested in that sort of thing. I'd very much appreciate having you check it out. And join us for live streams as well, Monday to Friday evenings, which is always good fun too. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.